Okay, so I guess we're just going to jump into the John Doyle thing right away, because why not? First of all, John Doyle's back. As I said, he's in a new studio in his new place in Texas. But before we even get into that, Baja was kind enough to forward some of his Instagram posts to me. I don't do Instagram. However, some cringe stuff. So, John Doyle posts on Instagram, Donald J. Trump is the greatest leader the world has seen since Franco. So few are ready to even begin to take this into account. And then he posts a picture of Franco and says, if your opinion on a historical figure is derived from Wikipedia and or books that could be purchased at a Barnes & Noble, it's invalid. So, for those who don't know, this was, the totalitarian fasci dictator of Spain from, like, gosh, was it the 30s or 40s up until the 1970s? He's not a guy you want to be compared to. He's not good. He's not good. Lots of killing of, political enemies. Not great. So, John Doyle being very mask off. Let's go ahead and get to his video. I'm probably going to go back today because this is a long video and I want to get through it. Doing bits messages in bulk. So, like, if I don't get to your bit message right away, it's not because I'm ignoring you. I'm just going to do it probably in the middle of the video and at the end. So I'm just going to let them stack up a little bit, okay? So let's check it out.
And here we go.
Jesus Christ. It's immediately cringe.
John Doyle in. Heck off, commie.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heck Off Commie. It is good to be back. New studio.
Oh no, he grew a beard. That sure is a choice. So he got a new custom sign that says Heck Off Commie. Looks like he has a little more, like, deep focus on the DSLR camera that he's using, and the same gun and thing is in the back. He did remove the poster with the swastika, so that's probably good. Speedy Yoshi says, I don't want to read that. I forgot I'm reading these in bulk later anyway.
Mode activated, content mode activated. We're very excited about it. I hope you are as well. And we're still fine-tuning everything as far as the shots and the lights and the audio goes, all that stuff. So this probably isn't the ultimate.
John looks a little out of focus. Like, I get the back is supposed to be kind of soft focus, but he's not quite in focus either.
An optimal setup for the new studio, but we'll get it locked down as we go along. We'll make it better. This is not even my final form, and such was the case with the last studio as well. So we anticipated this, but the problem is that very few others will take.
Yeah, it feels like it's focused in the foreground as opposed to the midground, so it's focused on, like, the Jesus bobblehead and the mug and the laptop and the mic stand, and not John in the midground. So hopefully you can fix that.
This into account. So got to get used to the new setup. Got to tweak the colors and the lights and the angles and stuff as we go along. Maybe one day we'll even unlock camera 3, the forbidden angle. Who knows? But anyways, we're going to get into this list here. And I do have to say that I've enjoyed the time off because it's allowed for things to sort of like ferment intellectually. And I'd estimate that I probably got about 9% smarter in the time off. So that's cool. And I'll explain my absence at the end of the video so that we can just get right into it now. But just rest assured that there is a method to my madness. The HOC network has expanded to be larger than ever before. We have people everywhere. We have them in media and government and local government, and we have their attention. We are literally the heck off communist octopus. Just have our tentacles everywhere, which of course is necessary.
The irony of him showing
we are
how...
literally the heck off communist octopus. Just
I like that it's a propaganda poster saying how evil communism is for getting its tentacles into everything, and the show's called Heck Off Commie, and meanwhile John Doyle is espousing how proud he is that his crypto-fascist group of weirdos is operating in the same way as the evil person in this propaganda photo? Seems a bit contradictory, but okay, John. Mightiest Quinn, thanks for rating with a party of 17. Go check out the Mightiest Quinn.
Just have our tentacles everywhere, which of course is necessary because we're trying to shift our country in the right direction. And to do that, we need to have the attention of powerful people, along with, of course, making ourselves as powerful as possible. And that's going to get into the first thing that I want to talk about before we get into the list, which is institutional power, the necessity and urgency of institutional power. I'm going to monologue about that for a bit here, and then we'll get into the list of 5 policies that I've aggregated. We're going to do 10 of them at first, but it's been a while, so we're going to have to microdose John Doyle. But some of them might confuse you, some of them you might disagree with, but I will explain why. They are absolutely imperative, and some of them are even below the radar to where we could probably get these into the mainstream discussion and even enacted in certain states within like the next 2 years. But first, we must address the elephant in the room, which is that Father's Day is right around the corner. And we all know that dads are very difficult to shop for because male nature typically dictates that if we want something, we just go get it. So
My dad is difficult to shop for because he only talks to me twice a week. John, maybe, I don't know, talk to your dad like a human being and know the things he likes. Jesus Christ. My dad was a huge piece of shit, and even I knew what to get for him for fucking Father's Day when I still talk to him. Jesus Christ.
Every year, you're panicking like, what do I get for my dad? I understand this frustration. I do. When I shop for the women in my life, my gifts are so good. I make them cry. They collapse to the ground. The concoction of thoughtfulness, joy, surprise, presentation, it's literally too much for their brains to handle, so they just start short-circuiting. But with dads, it's like, what does this man want that he doesn't already have? I'll tell you what he wants. He wants things that exist as accessories to things that he already has. Your mom has dreams of learning to play the violin and seamstressing. That's not your dad. Your dad doesn't want you to give him a new hobby for Father's Day because then it's not a gift, it is a chore. Let him do his own thing, help out if you can. And given the events of the last 18 months and frankly the last
Someone
decade
says, wait, John Doyle gets dates? He didn't say dates, he said women in his life. He has a sister, to my understanding.
So I would wager that your dad is one of the nearly 5 million new gun owners and maybe even lives in one of the half of states in this country signing constitutional carry into law. And so I must point out to you that one company has emerged as the leader in everyday carry, and that is We the People holsters.
Okay,
We
I'm
the
skipping
People
past the
fit,
stupid
send it
ad.
back for full refund. Promo code worse at a censorship quicker pick. Anyways, we are less than a year into the Biden administration, and things are getting much worse at a much
Did he
quicker
just air quote?
Anyways, we are less than a year into the Biden administration.
What is the air quote for, John? The Biden administration. This doesn't just mean thing you don't like. Do you think Biden isn't the president? Are you a weird Q person? What the fuck?
And things are getting much worse at a much quicker pace than we anticipated. Like I'm sure I don't need to remind you, inflation, gas prices, housing bubble, censorship, targeting political opposition with federal police, etc.
And this all matters to John because he just moved into a house outside of his mommy's basement for the first time.
The point being that if you are tired of losing and you actually care about your country, then you need to understand and be comfortable with the knowledge that we are going to have to break free from the fake conservatism of the last several decades that got us here in the first place. It does not make any sense to continue to run the same plays that have literally never worked for you at any point, obviously. And so as we get into some of these policies, you might think to yourself, well, now wait a minute. Well, that doesn't sound very conservative to me. And there are 2 things that I will say to that. Firstly, conservatism properly understood is simply that which conserves the traditional American society.
He's basically, I'm guessing, I haven't watched this video, but he's going to try and brand basically fascism or totalitarianism as conservatism. And he's going to do this by saying, well, as long as it conserves our cultural values. See, that's how you use air quotes properly, John. It's what I'm indicating that you're lying about what you really want. Or your thing that you're saying is bullshit. Anyway, I'm guessing he's gonna do that and be like, it's really conservatism, because even though it's overreaching totalitarianism and the dismantling of democracy, at the end of the day, we'll put the non-white people and the gays in their place, so it's really conservatism, is what I'm guessing he's going to basically allude to over the next half an hour.
That is the ends. It is not an allegiance to abstract principles or means, it is an allegiance to the ends, to actually conserving something. And in case you need a reminder, we have failed to conserve anything on virtually any issue in the last 80 years.
Yeah, conservatives are losers. You're literally fighting time. It's the stupidest political position you could possibly hold.
I therefore reject any input from neoconservatives who don't get it yet or who don't have the intellectual capacity to ever get it, because frankly, I understand what's happening, I understand why it's happening, I understand who's behind it, because I've done the...
I'm John Doyle, I'm 21 years old, I lived in my mommy's house last week, but let me tell you everything you need to know about the modern day American political landscape, okay? I'm a political expert. Do you see the sign? Do you see the gun on my wall? Clearly a political expert. I grew a beard, okay?
the reading, and that's the difference. Lots of people can only conceptualize conservatism in terms of what they've heard on talk radio or cable television or whatever. And so given that, let me ask you this, and this is the second thing. Why do you think that you were allowed to hear that? And I'm not saying that these people are necessarily bad people or that they sold out or something, but why would the system allow for anything that would pose a challenge to it to be broadcast en masse?
Again, the implication that the system is a monolithic entity in the first place is really stupid and rings a little fashy to me. It implies that, oh, you're downtrodden, you're a right-winger in America, the system is against you, because clearly every media enterprise from MSNBC to CNN to Fox News to One America News, they're all a monolith, and they're all against you. It's the system, three echoes. We gotta fight the system, man.
Notice how they only started censoring people once there was a legitimate effort to push back against the system, once we had a candidate who was actually a threat to the establishment.
The open racism and Nazi posting didn't help either, John.
In this,
You literally, I showed like a minute ago, you posting on Instagram how you were comparing Donald Trump to a totalitarian dictator who killed his political enemies and saying that that's awesome. Do you think maybe that's why people are getting deleted from Twitter? Because that, to me, feels, I don't know, feels like kind of the big thing.
country, to the swamp, to the deep state. And so to all the well-meaning patriots out there, all the good people out there who just...
Like, you're not gonna get banned from Twitter for saying, I like the Second Amendment, I'm glad I have my gun rights. You are gonna get banned, though, for being like, you know what would be great? A purging of my political enemies with guns. That'll do it.
just want us to return to a libertarian society, just like the founding fathers wanted. I understand that, and I sympathize with that, but we need to understand...
You think the founding fathers wanted a libertarian society? Oh my god. Don't tell the Federalists. What the fuck?
that it is literally the same thought process as, well, that wasn't true communism, well, this time we'll get it right. And it's like, well, that wasn't true small government conservatism, this time we'll get it right. Because the reality of the situation is that right now, we're not suffering from the consequences of inauthentic conservatism, but rather we are suffering from the consequences of what we regard to be actual conservatism, which exists to distract and drain time and money from well-meaning patriots who actually care about this country. These people do not play to win, they play for lobbying contracts. Virtually everything that they do is performative, it is not real. Conservatism has existed in this country as basically a form of controlled opposition, which seeks to criticize, mock, and most irresponsibly and dangerously occupy crucial volume and resources without actually doing anything to push back against the left. It is all performative. Take the recent issue. Transgender girls competing in women's sports.
Oh, God.
Biological men competing in women's sports. It's ridiculous. The left have absolutely lost their minds, folks. How can men compete in women's sports? It's not fair to all of our female athletes. Does that ring a bell? We're familiar with the talking points. Let me ask you a question now. How exactly is your day-to-day affected by the collapse of the institution of women's athletics? This is not to say that biological men should be allowed to compete in women's sports, and actually, don't even call them biological men. That's just ceding more ground to the left rhetorically. Why would we need to use biologically as a modifier on the word man? Just
Probably because of the existence of transgender people who exist. John, hi, how are you?
say men, but yeah, this is not to say that men should be allowed to compete in women's sports. This is simply to say that the whole issue is totally performative. I quite frankly cannot think of a less important, less consequential noun on American soil than women's sports.
Does John not understand that the entire idea of the whole, like, banning trans people from sports thing, it's basically just a dog whistle to say fuck trans people? Like, the politicians who are pushing this don't give a shit about women's sports either, John, and you know that, I guess. That's not the point. The point is to have some sort of, like, almost, what's the word? What do they always call things? It's basically right-wing virtue signaling that they hate trans people, but they know that in this day and age, if they just came out and said, I want to ban trans people from existing, they can't do that. So they just fight these little proxy culture wars and look like idiots. You're not wrong about that, but, like, they don't think they're actually accomplishing anything by doing this. They're just throwing breadcrumbs. They're just throwing breadcrumbs to their stupid base. Which is the same base you're trying to appeal to, by the way, so...
Oh, well, but young girls won't get as many trophies now because they have to compete against transgender girls. Hell yeah, that's male excellence right there. Let's go, boys. But seriously, no, I understand the problem. I understand the concerns. I understand the importance of athletics and competition. I do. But my problem is that the discussion in itself is not a serious discussion.
I get the feeling that under John Doyle's glorious Fourth Reich, all women's sports would be banned and instead replaced with motherhood classes, if I had to guess.
The issue of boys with gender identity disorder competing in women's sports is about 10 years downstream of the actual problem, which is that we as a country are entertaining the idea that gender, sex, biology, hormones, it's all unimportant, it's
Yeah, we're nailing it.
all insignificant.
John, remember in 2015 when you guys lost the culture war on gay marriage? Welcome to the next thing you're gonna lose, and have already basically lost. You guys are really bad at this.
And so what I'll say is this. Yes, I believe that men should be prohibited from participating in women's sports, absolutely. But I also believe that propagating gender theory and its adjacent strains should be prohibited in any institution receiving public dollars. Because if you don't...
I believe in free speech. Also, I want to ban the thing that I don't like because I don't like trans people. Genius. For the record, I know the contradiction is intentional. John Doyle and people like him don't really believe in free speech. They use it as a rhetorical device because they know they can't defend the things that they say, so when they get removed for the content of their speech, they can't defend the speech itself and what they had to say, so they instead default to, well, don't I have the right to say it? Like, okay, yeah, I mean, out in public, sure, but on private platforms, not necessarily. They don't really care about the idea of free speech. They would silence everything they disagree with if they had the opportunity. It's ridiculous.
do that, then you're just going to end up right back there anyways. As it would turn out, there's no such thing as, well, we just want to be free to do what we want in the privacy of our own home. That was a lie. The slippery slope exists, and if you think that you can deal with something down the mountain...
What's down the mountain of trans people? I'd love to hear your theory, John. What's down the slippery slope of me living my life? I'd love to hear it. Is it the fucking horses again? Because you guys already used that one on gay marriage. Just curious what you think the downhill is.
Without shutting off the water at the top of the mountain, then you are not a serious person. You are not having a serious discussion. And this is the fundamental problem with the practical application of libertarianism. The problem isn't necessarily the ideas, but rather that our current context does not allow for those ideas. Libertarianism, the society that the founding fathers wanted, however you'd like to describe it, it is not possible unless the society is a unified moral and religious people.
Here we go. It's going to be the fascist promise of, yeah, we're going to get totalitarian and decide everything about your lives and get really, really angry and probably kill you if you step out of line. But once we're all on the same page, then, you know, you'll get your rights back. Don't worry about it. We just got to crack down on those leftists and gays and trans people and non-white people and maybe Catholics. I don't know. Whoever we decide is the other in this case. Don't worry, though. Once we crack down on those people, we'll all be happy. That's historically how that's worked.
James Madison, the father of the Constitution, said this: if you are going to opt to live and let live, to not seize power, to maintain the power vacuum, then the other people have to agree to do this as well. But the reality of our situation is that the people in our country now, the communists, they don't want to leave that power on the table. They want to take it for themselves.
Again, John, please point to me one single politician or politician-adjacent person who is actually a self-professed communist. I'd love to hear it. There is no profound amount of communism in the United States. There just isn't. It doesn't exist. Sorry. I know they work really well as a boogeyman for you, because apparently you hear McCarthyism and your dick gets hard, but it's just not a thing in the United States. Not in any significant way that matters.
And use it against you. This is not debatable. They openly admit this. And so the problem with this small government...
Please, I'd love to see all these openly admitted communists in power, please. Share, John.
Conservatism that we've all been sold.
Jeff Waldorf, thanks for raiding. Welcome, raiders. Go check out Jeff Waldorf here on Twitch.
AKA the don't do anything because then you're just like the enemy, who is winning, by the way, conservatism. The problem isn't that it's a bad idea.
You know, I do like the John Doyle videos for one reason. Lots of hopium. Every video he just talks about how the left is winning. Now bear in mind, I understand that this is a fashy rhetoric thing where he's like, the enemy is both weak, but they're strong, they're beating us, so you need to give us more power and we need to commit more violence in order to win. But, still, hearing a piece of shit like John be like, the left is winning, does make me go, yeah, we are. Thanks, John. At least on social issues.
Idea on paper, just that it's only possible if those forces who seek to destroy that society are suppressed. Because if you allow that fire to sustain itself, it will...
True freedom is suppression. True freedom is when I look at people whose political opinions I don't like, and I stomp them under my boot. That's freedom. Remember, freedom is slavery, peace, or war is peace. What the fuck is the quote? You get it. Check mark to anyone on bingo who's looking for gratuitous use of, 1984 quotes. It's on me.
Will spread, and before you know it, it'll be too late to stop it. The founding fathers knew this. We knew this before the neoconservatives co-opted the American right and made it into an impotent embarrassment. General Patton, General MacArthur, all of the greatest Americans that you and I could think of, they all knew this. And so I would make the argument that it is time for the libertarian types to join forces with us to follow the logical conclusion of the NAP, of the Gadsden flag, to understand that what they're doing to this country is an act of aggression that will destroy it.
People who disagree with me politically are committing aggression against me, therefore I can kill them. Yay!
If you don't do anything about it, and that they are treading on you, and it is time to fight back.
I saw a gay couple holding hands the other day, and that was treading on me.
It's time to bite them. We have to gain institutional power. We have to wield it. But the response is always, well, but if we use the government, won't they just use it back? Understand, it is already being used against you. The corporations are being used against you. That means worst case scenario, even according to you, and better believe it, you've done the math. We're just going to be back to square one. And so given that, and given that I'd actually like to be able to raise a family here someday, I've concluded that we...
John, you would first have to find a woman willing to accept your seed. That's probably a long shot. That's honestly a longer shot than you ever getting any real political power, so... Maybe you go on 90 Day Fiance, find a mail-order bride from Russia. You'd probably like that.
We may as well give it the old college try, right? Let's actually have some balls. Let's have a competent right-wing government for the first time in decades, and frankly, probably ever.
Are you admitting that Donald Trump was incompetent? Because he was in charge for 4 years. Just checking, at least to the executive branch. And, you know, the Republicans in Congress basically just did whatever he wanted, so...
Because if we lose, we are going to be regarded as the greatest, most impressively pathetic group of people to ever exist. That we...
You're already there, John. Sorry.
Let our country be destroyed by communists. Literal communists!
Where? Where are the communists, John? Where are they? Where are they? Show me the communists.
Who masturbate to cartoon animals because we...
Can I get a sauce? Is there a source on the hot commie fox right there? Anyone? No? Okay.
We were too comfortable watching Netflix and browsing TikTok, blowing the home court advantage to literal communist perverts. That will be the biggest L in the history of mankind. And so the last thing I'll say about this before we get into the list is that the reason we used to be a much happier, much more unified, much more free country isn't because that was just...
Let me see if I can find that communist fox real quick. Hold on. Is that a not safe for work image? Has John been searching for communist furry porn? Communist fox furry. Oops, I said furty. That's not right. There are a lot of communist fox furries. Wow. Let me see, there's 1, 2, 3. That one just has no shirt on. 4, 5. That one's a Nazi. 6, 7, 8, 9. I see 9 communist fox furries. I feel like I'm the Count from Sesame Street. 9. 9 communist fox furries.
just like the natural state of our existence. It's because to be a communist 100 years ago was almost exactly what it's like to be a right-wing person now in 2021. It's almost 1-to-1. And when I say communist, I'm speaking broadly about the coalition which all of these interest groups are ultimately serving. They're anti-American, they're anti-family, they're anti-God, they're anti-white, they're degenerate.
Yes, communists, famously anti-white. What race are the people in the USSR again? What race were they? I forget. And they never had families. Remember that? How the USSR never had families? And I don't even like the USSR. I don't like any totalitarian shitbag state. But he's just saying factually incorrect things. Yeah, this is Nazi rhetoric. This is literally World War II era Hitler, Goebbels, Nazi rhetoric about communism, which is so funny, because at least back in World War II, there were a substantial number of communists. They lived relatively close to Germany in the USSR under Stalin. But now he's just an old man yelling at clouds in the body of a young twink boy. It's so weird. All these communists... Where? What are you talking about? Hold on, someone found the fox furry. Does... Okay, it's just a profile image, so no fox dick. Cool. Though it is a gay communist furry, so... Bonus points.
Etc. And actually, on that note, another important thing that no one talks about, why we were fighting communism. The fight against communism, it wasn't about wanting to be able to, like, you know, run to Walmart at 11 p.m., get a pint of Ben & Jerry's and a phone charger. No, it actually had very little to do with capitalism. It was about the soul of the nation. It was a...
One sec.
about the fact that communists were godless, and we knew that. And we knew that without God, we would decay into basically where we are now. There's a reason that we mandated...
So, the Cold War was pointless then. Okay.
That in God we trust be inscribed on our currency in 1955. Your grandparents probably saw that change happen, and it wasn't because we loved capitalism and consumption, though the irony is that as we've...
I think that was a pretty big part of it. John, I've seen a lot of educational videos from that era. No, they really liked consumerism and capitalism.
Lost God and we've become decadent and greedy, and the money that we so idolize still has that inscription. That's beside the point. The point is that if you showed an American man in the 1950s what his country would become within the next 100 years, he'd want to go back to the drawing board.
I don't give a fuck what some racist sack of shit in the 1950s thought. He probably beat his wife, or at the very least didn't want her to have rights. I don't care what they think. John, why are you depending upon the opinions of either 90-year-old or dead people for what you think the world should look like? John, they were probably dead before you were born. Learn to have your own opinions, you fucking Nazi shit. Jesus.
But anyways, think about that. Why were you never taught about how we used to treat communists the same way that they now treat right-wing people? It's because...
Ah, yes, famous communists who run Twitter and Facebook.
That is what is necessary to defeat them and actually conserve and protect the nation. They don't want that. They like it when you think that you have principles. I'm going to beat you in the marketplace of ideas, which, by the way, they'll just kick you out of anyways because the left can act with total impunity because they have virtually all of the institutional power and you have none of it. 100 years ago, we used to target communists in the government, in academia, in the media. You would be fired, blacklisted, maybe even charged. Now look where we are. Tables have turned. By the 1960s...
Now I can't post on Twitter, which is the same as no one hiring me and being brought in front of Congress to answer for my political opinions.
They'd taken over academia. By the 2000s, right-wing thought was non-existent. By the 2010s,
right-wing thought isn't super prevalent in academia because people in academia are smart. On the whole.
student or faculty who dissented would be targeted. You will be made to conform. They did the same thing with similar timelines in public education, big business, media, Hollywood, etc. And so we have no idea how to push back. We are fish in a barrel. There are no right-wing organizations dedicated to getting individuals to strategize and infiltrate these apparatuses to take them back, partially because we're too busy raising $100,000 to totally own AOC because we act like literal children. We have no right-wing George Soros. We don't even have our military anymore. Side note.
George Soros. That's got to be on the bingo card, right? George Soros? I don't run that bingo. Someone in the chat does, so I don't even have a copy of it.
No, do not join the military. Maybe I'll do a video on that later. But think about this. They're in...
You know what? I agree, John. Please, no one who is a fan of John Doyle join the military. Own the communists by not joining the military or law enforcement. That would own us so hard. Please. Oh no, don't do that.
Such firm control over you that they can commit legitimate acts of violence and terrorism, and it will either be ignored or romanticized by the mainstream narrative. But if you listen to federal police when they tell you that you can enter a building as long as you don't break anything, they will arrest you and write the history books to compare you to the 9/11 hijackers.
Yeah, so don't do that. Don't murder police officers and storm a building and literally rub shit on the walls. And break things, which they did.
And so we essentially have two options: occupy a power structure or die, like literally die. And probably the only way to go about this is to do the same thing that they did. We need to have our own long march through the institutions. We need tens of thousands of disciplined, hyper-focused, patient, highly motivated individuals. Also, to anyone thinking, well, but how do you know your ideas are correct? What if you're wrong and communism's actually correct and better? I don't even know how to answer that. Like, am I supposed to not be confident in my beliefs?
You could explain it. And again, you're kind of fighting against a straw man here when you're fighting, air quote, communism and not just, I don't know, democracy, which is really what you're against, and you're using communism as a dog whistle for it, which is very strange.
Having done the homework, do you think it's possible for us to know right from wrong? Do you need to see my math? Can I show you a picture of what the other side looks like? Because honestly, that's like the most compelling argument at this point.
He keeps going back to the physiognomy thing, which is another just literal Nazi talking point. YouTube, are you gonna ban him or what? That'd be great.
But simply put, the right tends to be more correct because our thinking is fundamentally rooted in reality and nature, and the left tends to be more incorrect.
I love sexy, attractive right-wingers. Like Donald Trump. Look at that. What a sexy man. Physiognomy. Genius. What the fuck, John?
Correct, because their thinking is fundamentally rooted in idealism. It's literally like a rejection of reality and nature. But here's the sobering truth, and I wish this weren't the case, but everything throughout history suggests that it is, which is that it's not enough to just be right. You have to have the power to disseminate that truth, because people aren't that smart. They're basically lemmings. Don't believe me? Still think.
Again, the idea that you are a genius and that you need to control the populace because they're all super stupid and you know the right way, so you need to crush them under your boot in order to keep them in line. Fascism. That's fascism to a T.
Think the best ideas win? Okay. Why do so many people all of a sudden think that gender doesn't exist anymore?
Because your ideas are bad and you should feel bad. If the right ideas always win, then why did this right idea win? Checkmate, leftists. Gender is a social construct, fun fact.
Because the people who control the narratives told them so. People need to think for themselves, but they don't. We know what's right.
Thinking for yourself means just being a contrarian in every single opinion. Did you know that?
Know what works, and we know that we need to trust ourselves to communicate that. The reason this country used to be better wasn't because of freedom and small government. It's because the people...
Can I just also point out that John Doyle claims that he's smarter than everyone else, but he literally believes the Bible is real? Like, he's a big brain genius boy, but he thinks the world started when God made a guy out of dirt, and then a couple generations later he flooded the whole earth, and they saved animals by putting them on a boat. Every animal on Earth on one boat for 11 months. And John Doyle's like, I'm a genius! Why won't people listen to me? Pretty sure John Doyle's probably a creationist, for fuck's sake.
People who were controlling the narratives weren't evil yet. Like, there has always been narrative control. There always will be. It is inevitable. We have to make the choice as to whether we take action to be the ones controlling it so that we can take our country back. Plus, we have got...
You tried on the 6th. You failed. You and your buddy Nick Fuentes. How'd that go? Try it again. I dare ya.
on our side, which is epic. But that being said, here's what scares me. In order to do this successfully, it would take about a century, literally. And that's about how long it took us to get here in the first place anyways. But what that means is that the people who get the ball rolling on this are very likely not going to live to see the results of their work.
I find that funny, too, because the idea that in 100 years you could all of a sudden make people transphobic again, and people are transphobic now, but let's assume John Doyle's plan is to slowly, over 100 years, try and convince people that transgender people, or gay people, or non-white people, or leftists, or whatever, to make them, you know, looked down upon by society. You think that's gonna happen in 100 years? No, not really. It would be like... How do I put this? It would be like trying to propose a Nazi Germany-style dictatorship today. There are always threats like people like John Doyle, and Trump gets pretty fucking close, but they still lose, and public opinion is not in their favor. If they did anything, it would be through the use of force, not actual changing of public opinion. Especially starting now and moving to a century from now, the acceptance of trans people being a thing is only going to get more ubiquitous, not only here in the States, but around the world. The idea that you think in 100 years you're going to make people hate trans people or gay people or whatever just makes you look like an idiot that doesn't only not understand the past, but you don't really understand progress either. And I understand things aren't always progress in one direction. I get that. Things can always go backwards, and you should always be vigilant of that and make sure that you're engaging in politics and sort of the discourse in order to help steer things in a direction that's advantageous for everyone. But this ain't it, John. This ain't it. Don't waste your life doing this, please.
And it also means that people are going to generally have to work very hard at this and make sacrifices. And there are a few pretty significant impediments that we're going to face that the communists didn't have to face at the time, which are going to make this substantially more difficult for us. The first one is that our time preference and focus have been destroyed as a consequence of capitalism, technology, the Industrial Revolution, etc. Our ability to focus, like our attention span, has literally been crippled by these things, especially in younger people. We can't focus, we can't delay gratification, we want more products, new information, new stimuli, new dopamine now. And that's a huge problem because...
I find that funny, too, considering, like, millennials and Gen Z people are some of the most politically engaged young generations ever. So does John, like, not have friends or anything? Like, why does he think that? Even John is an example of someone, I disagree with him and I think he's dangerous, but he and Fuentes and his other alt-right Nazi buddies, they're an example of a younger generation of people being incredibly politically engaged, and this happens all across the political spectrum for younger people. So I find that accusation a little strange.
Literally, our biological capacity to do something like an institutional march has been compromised by the way our society has been structured. It is now less likely than it would have been a century ago for a group of people to have the requisite focus and time preference, etc., that is necessary for something like this to be successful. Not even as an indictment of their own character, but just because of the way society has become structured. It breeds this in people. Our society breeds mental illness, but we don't address that. Instead, we just give you your pills to make you feel like a zombie, but we're making progress, I guess, because at least Blue's Clues is pro-LGBT now. And that's a problem, too, because people are depressed.
Of course, he brought up the Blue's Clues thing. I love it. Thank you, Blue's Clues, for triggering every single idiot on my feed. Hydrate, will do.
Have no motivation, no ambition. They're getting strung out on drugs. They're committing suicide. They hate themselves. And this collective spiritual illness is literally a breeding ground for leftism. I know I've explained this before, but leftism properly understood is just mass mobilized mental illness. And I say
That's
that
a thing
not
he likes to say a lot. It must be very convenient to try and explain away people who disagree with you who are in the majority, just saying they all have mental illness. Which is funny, too, because considering, John, you seem to agree that mental illness is basically defined socially by psychologists who study things and finding what categories of behavior fall into, in the past, they'd probably say, like, deviancy when homosexuality and transgenderism were considered mental illness. but also just, like, how much does it hamper your ability to live an everyday life? Whereas, I would argue, if anyone here has a mental illness, and I'm not saying he does, but if anyone has a pattern of behaviors that hamper them from performing normally in society, it's the Nazi! I can go out and live my life and function in society perfectly fine. I do and I am. Not only am I gonna be getting engaged soonish, I own a house, I'm going to buy a second house with Baja, and turn this into a rental property. I know, do the landlord booze, I get it. I have friends, I have family, I just came out to my grandparents and they were supportive. And they're almost 80. Like, I'm functioning fine in society. It feels like you're not, John. So...
As a baby boomer, like, oh, well, you guys are crazy, you lost your damn minds. Literally, because these people are traumatized and they project that insecurity onto these victim narratives and they crystallize them within their identity. That's why half the time you ask these people to defend their political opinions, they just get emotional, they start crying. It's because it's not actually about politics. It is about spiritual sickness. And so not only are people just...
No, I'm not going to be unreasonable. I know people are going to be against it either way, which is fine. But I'm going to be renting out to Alex. You guys probably know Alex from the Charisma Saves D&D stream we do. He's a friend of mine, so. Yeah, and I'm not doing it for profit.
Generally less motivated to do anything. They're also being bred to fall in line with these narratives and movements. And adjacent to this is the abandonment of God, the lack of belief in anything greater than themselves. So given that, why would they want to dedicate themselves to taking their country back if they're not going to live to see the results? You know, like, well, what's the point? What's in it for them?
The idea that you can't have ideals greater than yourself if you're not religious is pretty ignorant and shows that John doesn't really know any non-religious people, or at least he hasn't had actual discussions with them about this stuff in a reasonable fashion.
That's why they humiliate you.
Is Anna going to be moving too? I believe Anna is doing... they are working in another state currently. So whenever they get done with that, Alex is going to deal with moving again somewhere. And I'm sure they'll move in together. I don't know.
By disgracing your military, disgracing your flag, putting a clown in the White House, it's
You voted for Trump, John.
a humiliation ritual. They want you to give up on your country. They want you to believe that it's not even worth fighting for anymore. And all of these reasons are why when people on the right do discuss a plan to take the country back, it always comes down to this fantasy of a moment of mass awakening. All of a sudden, the left is going to go too far. People are just going to snap out of it. Military is going to drain the swamp. Patriots in control. Trust the plan. No, none of that is going to happen. There is no big moment.
At least John's not a QAnon person. That's great.
There is no mass awakening, because to awaken the masses assumes that they're capable of waking up, which they aren't.
He's anti-QAnon because he thinks people are too stupid. Okay, great.
Stop fantasizing, stop coping, roll up your sleeves, get to work. The light at the end of the tunnel for us has to be the knowledge that if we do our jobs correctly, then we will have statues erected of us in our honor.
Does someone want to look up the DSM-5's page on delusions of grandeur? No? Okay.
We will be revered throughout history. Think about that. If you watching this right now, if you manage to do your job...
This is giving me flashbacks of Marcel Basset, sovereign citizen, declaring himself emperor, and also doing videos like generations from now. They'll say, this is where it started. Oh, no, John. John.
job effectively, whatever that job may be in the struggle, and enough others do the same, you will literally be elevated to the level of the founding fathers in American history a few generations from now. And that's the greatest incentive, especially for young men, assuring them that we will cement their legacy, and we will. This is why when we take power, one of the first things that we'll do is put up statues and memorials across the country of great Americans to show that we will honor their efforts and their sacrifice, and that's the correct take.
Oh, John is not doing well, is he? Oh my goodness. He lost an election less than a year ago, and he's already having delusional, fantasies about taking power, and when we take power, we're gonna build statues all over the country, and some of them are gonna be of me, and we're gonna do statues to slave owners, and it's gonna be great. Hooey! Dave Rubin hung out with this guy recently. Dave, you want to maybe pick your friends better? Jesus.
Take, by the way, with the statues coming down and history being erased. Not that, well, they're trying to erase our history, but they're trying to erase it because they don't want it repeating itself. They don't want great Americans to be...
You know what honestly makes me pretty happy? I mean, there are multiple reasons that getting engaged is going to make me happy. I don't mean to put the cart in front of the horse. Just Baja and I not only already picked out rings, but Baja bought a wedding dress. So... But... outside of all the obvious happiness I'm going to get from getting married to Baja and spending the rest of my life with her because I love her very much and she's a wonderful partner, the fact that I'm going to get married before John Doyle makes me pretty happy because I know John Doyle and his people make fun of me. I've seen their Discord. They're not very nice, which is fine. I get enough transphobia. I'm relatively used to it. So... the idea that I'm going to get married before John Doyle, even though if we look at physiognomy, clearly I am a terrible specimen of a human being and he is an ideal, bearded, manly twink man, that makes me pretty happy. John Doyle's intro is him getting home in a car like it's the 1950s and coming home to his wife, and it's all just a LARP, and I'm actually going to be married. It's a little funny.
Be remembered because they don't want to inspire any more.
I know it's his sister in real life, but it's supposed to look like his wife.
More great Americans because they don't want there to be.
I shouldn't be used to transphobia, though. Yeah. I wish I lived in an ideal world, too.
In America anymore. The greatest gift that you could give to future generations is their birthright, which frankly previous generations failed to give you, and that is the United States of America. Hold on, allow me to shamelessly transition into product mode. Speaking of gifts...
Is he doing another ad in the middle of the video? Holy shit. You know what, this is my cue to go ahead and do some bits messages. Since he's going to do his ad read, I'll do my ad read of people who support this channel, which is you fine people up here. So let's see what the bits messages are. Mike Max says, today is Christmas for Trump supporters. One Speedy Yoshi says, oh, and I totally forgot to say I was watching VODs of yours and you mentioned Culver's cheese curds. Well, I convinced my mom to go to Culver's, and guess what? I'm eating now. Their cheese curds are the bomb. Speedy Yoshi says, still a twink even with the beard. Tucker White says, something's wrong with that intro. It implies a woman would want to be attracted to John. Sky Comet Fallen says, WTF was that intro? He's a boomer. Princess Amelia says that beard legitimately looks fake. He doesn't look old enough to grow a beard that good. Mightiest Quinn, thanks for rating. Rublum, thanks for 6 months, says, what a disheveled looking child to juxtapose the fresh and clean Hannah at the 6th month point. E-Tune says, he looks like he's trying to be Steven Crowder's mini-me. Tucker White says, get what every dad wants. This Father's Day, raid Shadow Legends. A Colston with 20 bits says, John's dad was an absentee father, remember? He wouldn't know anything about his dad. Was that a thing? I don't even remember that as a joke or a real thing. What is that? Mike Max says, I just give people money. It's easier. They can get what they want with less stress. Nick says, yes, he thinks Trump won. I know, he's delusional. Princess Amelia says, no amount of air quotes can make Biden not your president, John. Seriously. Speedy Yoshi says, I'm not saying people not being able to pay their mortgage and getting kicked out is a good thing, but I can make an exception for one special boy. Pubic Worrier, thank you for following. Nick says, conserving values isn't a good idea in and of itself. You actually have to conserve good values. Slowdog52 says, fun fact, a certain German political party in the 30s referred to the Weimar Republic as Das System. The system. Tucker White says, I mean, he's right, but for the wrong reasons. The system is against us, not because of your political leanings, but because the media in the country is by large an extension of the modern robber barons. I would tend to agree with that. Speedy Yoshi says, CNN, China News Network, Communism News Network, Clinton News Network. What are some of the other things they're called? Maybe Culver's News Network. Best cheese curds. Rublum says, but Hannah, John didn't learn from Wikipedia or books bought from Barnes & Noble. We can't dispute that. Tucker White says, Jesus, he's almost halfway there. Tucker says, John, those trans men compete in women's sports because fascists like you won't let them compete with men. Yeah, that's what I find interesting about this, is this is going to lead to trans men competing with cis women. And the trans men are probably going to beat the fuck out of them because they're on T. One Speedy Yoshi says, I'm not even a sports person, but easy way to allow transgender athletes, have it be weight and or skill based. Simple as that. Morgan the Fae says, I wonder if he had to pay 15-year-old for his pubes to create his Tread cruise beard. Amazing Physicist says, I was just saying that as a cis white dude of 235 pounds and 6'4", I'm saying you keep it up, you'll have that something. I can't do... You're complimenting me, but in a relatively blunt way. So thanks. Princess Amelia with 20 bits says, very much expected for John to take both the biological men shouldn't compete in women's sports and who gives a shit about women's sports stances. Devious Chilster says, so this is, how did he somehow make this worse? It somehow started as transphobia and moves to just general misogyny? This guy is not okay. I know he's not. So Horror Show says, fun fact, the testicles are maintained at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, so when it's that hot outside, it's officially hot as balls. Andrew Dickerson says, what do you think about trans men in women's sports, John? Profane Priestess says, in before he brings up Rachel Dolezal and transracialism to say the difference is that transgender people have thousands of testimonies and decades of science supporting us. Transracial people have like a dozen people. They are not equivalent. Tucker White says, probably polyamory or polygamy or furries. That's probably what's down the mountain. Neither of those bother me. Tucker White says, yes, the Founders Society where only wealthy landowning men could vote and slavery was allowed. I think John would like those things. He just doesn't want to say it because he doesn't want to get banned from YouTube. Speedy Yoshi says, I'm sitting in my mom's car in a Walmart parking lot. The amount of white people walking by and giving me judgmental looks because I'm black and reclining is just, why is Idaho like this? Ugh, I'm sorry. Devious Chilster says, is it weird that I think John legitimately looks better without a beard? I don't know. Facial hair doesn't fit him. He's not a bad-looking guy, but the beard just adds gruffness that doesn't fit him. Clean-shaven looks better. I would tend to agree, but, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. I don't really care. Jeff Waldorf, thanks for rating. Princess Amelia says, the irony of talking about communism with respect to trans rights is that most communists I've seen agree with John Doyle that trans women are men. Yeah, tankies are not big fans of gay and trans people generally. Mike Mack says, John, the left is winning versus Peter. Trump is winning. I want to see John Doyle and Peter debate, because Peter would get beat up verbally, and it would be kind of funny, but in a mean way. He still hasn't gotten back to me. I'm worried about Peter. One Speedy Yoshi says, they want a mix between 1984, Fahrenheit 451, and A Handmaid's Tale, but somehow with more white supremacy. Speedy Yoshi, thanks for 20 bits. Razzle Tazzle, thanks for gifting 5 subs. We're almost done, I promise. I know this is a lot of bits messages. Sky Comet Fallen with 50 bits says, please, by the gods and all that is holy, nobody breed with John Doyle. Nick says, Doyle squirked the gherkin to Judy Hopps, confirmed. Cool Cat says, he complains about furry commies, but not furry Nazis. Queer Who Bear, thanks for resubscribing for 3 months. Sky Comet Fallen says, John, quit beating around the bush and just put a swastika on your wall. Morok Ben Eoth says, I find the lack of fox dick disturbing. Nimbus Space Wagon Dragon, thanks for following. Nick says, yes, the godless scumbags who shouted, Gott mit uns. Athena SM, thanks for following. Tucker White says, anyone who thinks academia is full of communists haven't set foot on a college ever, outside of arts college, as it's stacked with capitalist-loving... I'm not going to say that. That species of Star Trek, alien gets used as a dog whistle for Jewish people, just so you know. You probably don't want to just start throwing that around in that way, because people are going to think you're a Nazi. Just so you know. Pulp Free Fiction with 20 bits says, has John openly advocated exterminating his enemies yet? If not, I feel like we're a few videos from that. Tucker White says, did John just speak ill of capitalism? This displeases economos. Bellum Guardian says, John's right, I smoked weed once and it made me gay. Tucker White says, but it's good to see John take issue with capitalism. Embrace it, John. Embrace it. Kierthan, thanks for gifting a sub. Devious Chilter says, being gay or anything more left than a literal Nazi is killing everyone and we're losing. Also, John, people are too depressed. Color by Emmy says, yay, I'm glad your grandparents are cool. Bumble Homestead says, if you're able, go watch the Blues Clues Pride Parade and upvote it. Lots of bigots have been downvoting it. Please do. It's really great. Be very careful, John. Thanks for 100 bits, as I didn't know you two were getting engaged. Congrats. Tucker White says, John, everybody we've elected since Ronald Reagan has been a clown. Tucker White says, if those statues have actual erections, then I'll chip into a Kickstarter for John Doyle's state. Chrysia says, It's the right erasing history. John is a thorough 6 says, holy shit, is he okay? Also, my mom agrees that he wants to be the next Rush Limbaugh. Moonrael says, grats to you too. Tucker White says, let's be honest, if John actually lived in the 50s, his wife would be effing the neighbor. Jesus. Miss K's, thanks for 100 bits, says, love y'all, and I signed up for your Patreon. I'm so excited. Cool. I hope to see the next live stream for patrons, which will be the 3rd Sunday of the month. Dearthin says, trans rights, that's all. Mike Mack says, Jeremy from The Quartering appeared in Crowder's new intro. Of course he did. Colston says, fun fact, John's sister may be trans. On his old Twitter, he apparently said that his sister wanted to be addressed as a man and presented themselves as a man, but they straightened her out. That family's fucked up. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, no. I hope they're okay. Tucker White says, you want to know how little principle the media has? CNN's Brazil outlet is basically Fox News, but worse. R. Wester V, thanks for resubscribing for 10 months. We're this close to being done, guys, I promise. I'm sorry. Von Tuck says, just joined. John Doyle is a bigot, still I gather. Somehow not surprised. Kirthan says, a riddle for you if you want. My wedding date has 3 2s, 2 1s, and 1 0. What's the date? I don't have time to figure that out. Amazing Physicist says, I say you're pretty, Hannah. Just saying, you're nailing it. Thanks. Zozo Horror Show says, the term transracial was co-opted by Dolezal. The term was originally about adoption of kids of different race than the adopters. Okay, we're all good. Cool.
Have you thought any more about what I said about Father's Day? Did you pick a gift yet? Well, you better figure that out now, because if you don't, you're going to have to get him a last-minute gift that you'll try to pass off as sincere. Here are some actual examples of last-minute panic purchases I have given to my dad on various occasions.
Oh no, are we going to see how bad of a son John Doyle is?
Season 3 of Cheers on DVD.
In fairness, Cheers is a pretty good show.
Bop It, Tetris Edition.
Does your dad like Bop It or Tetris, or is that just... Okay.
A 1-ounce silver coin, a book by Nietzsche that I knew he wasn't going to read, etc.
John, do you know your dad at all? Yikes.
The reality is that Father's Day is coming up, and I can promise you that he doesn't want a mug or a tie. When you get your dad a mug or a tie for Father's Day, what you're really saying is, hey, Dad, I thought you should know that all I care to know about you is that you drink liquids and then vaguely have an interest in whatever's printed on this mug. And when you get your dad a tie, you're saying, hey, Dad, I thought that you could wear this to my event that you're going to have to pretend to care about. And you know what happens after...
Oh. Is John incapable of imagining a father who actually cares about the things his children do? That's a little revealing.
After that, boys and girls, it means that you're going to find out if your quirky color-changing ceramic mug changes color with battery acid as well, or if that necktie you picked out can heft 200 pounds. You don't want that. You want to give him a gift that will save him thousands in ammo and take his marksmanship to the next level.
Wow, that was a joke about your dad hanging himself. Cool.
Conservative policies to take our country back, starting with number 1, which is, of course, that we have to get big tech under control. And I mean seriously under control. When I talk about almost everything that
Hey, if we want to break up big tech companies, John, I'm all for it. Sure, fine.
even the most hard-hitting, take no BS conservatives do as just performative, it really is true, especially on issues like big tech, which is one of the most important. So we hear about Republicans take action against big tech, epic win, libs triggered, libs on suicide watch, I'm drinking my leftist tears. And you actually look at like what they're doing, the action, like what the action is, it's legally defining what a social media company is, and then saying that if, well, they ban you, well, they have to let you know about it. So I'll lay out some additional things that should be done legally, and then I'll explain why. In addition to just legally defining what a social media company is and mandating that they notify a user when they're banned, how about this? All constitutional free speech is protected on all platforms. Any platform who censors, shadow bans, or deplatforms someone for constitutional speech will pay a very large fine.
See, that's not how it works, though, John, because that cuts both ways. Those platforms, considering that we had Citizens United that determined that companies have their own free speech, companies have their own right to disavow things that you say as someone on their platform. So if you want that to happen, then you need to undo Citizens United. Please do.
Each time they do it, let's say
You cannot compel speech from these platforms, which is what you are trying to do. Yes, thank you, chat.
$1 million, because screw these people.
And also, then, if you're like a baker, I guess you're going to have to make those gay wedding cakes. All that jazz.
Additionally, all previously banned candidates, independent journalists, activists, etc. must be reinstated unless the company can prove that their speech wasn't constitutional. And this would also protect current users who haven't been affected yet from the same treatment. Moreover, expand this not only into social media platforms, also internet service providers, telecommunications companies, so that they can't do this anymore either.
Wait, like net neutrality?
That's basically the idea. We would effectively be guaranteeing First Amendment rights on the internet, which is the new public square. Oh, but John, if you...
KF Logan, thank you for raiding. Welcome, raiders. We're taking a look at John Doyle's newest dumpster fire. Go check out Kevin's channel here on Twitch, KF Logan 1875. Does someone want to go ahead and link to Kevin's channel here in the chat? I would appreciate it. How was your stream? Hope it went well.
You expand your rights to include the internet, then eventually the government will use that power to take rights away, even though that's incoherent completely. There is literally no way for expanding First Amendment rights on the internet to come back to bite us. Like, sure, maybe it makes life a little bit harder in Silicon Valley, but they'll adjust. Remember, they're innovators. They'll be just fine without deciding who gets to have an opinion. And you can do this at the state level right now. Just call your people, organize, put pressure on them. We'll put out a script at some point for all of these probably that you guys can use. We'll organize more in the future. But this is absolutely imperative for our future success because, like we said, these platforms are the new public square, and we are being targeted so severely that if we don't...
You're being targeted because you're a fascist, John, and you're calling for violence. Again, like I've said, if you want to break up these companies or nationalize them or do something... I mean, whatever. I don't care. I don't have a hard-on for, Facebook or Twitter or anything. I don't really care. But, John, don't act like you've been banned for some unfair reason. You got banned for doxing people.
Use what little power we have left to guarantee ourselves a seat at the table, then we're just going to be deleted from society and we will have no chance of turning the tide, let alone taking our country back. So we have to go after big tech, but we have to do so with teeth, with balls, because that's all these people respond to, force. We're the ones who will be placated by a performative display that is ultimately inconsequential. Oh, we totally owned him by asking him that question. These companies need to be met with force, or else we will all be screwed, blued, and tattooed.
Oh, the fascist is afraid of things, so he's alluding to the Holocaust. That's nice.
Moving on to the second one. Probably the most peculiar on the list, but just as important. We need to ban poison from being put in our bodies. Here's a fact I'm not sure if you know. On average, every week, you are ingesting 1 credit card's worth of plastic. Testosterone is down 40% in the last 4 decades. That's down 1% every year. Male sperm count is expected to reach 0 by 2045. We're becoming this sick, confused, androgynous society in a large...
I like that John simultaneously tries to say trans people aren't real, but is also... what's the word? Concern trolling over less testosterone and calling this generation androgynous. Which is it, John? Is transgenderism fake? Or are people more androgynous nowadays?
Part of that is the fact that we're ingesting microplastics, BPAs, phthalates, phytoestrogens, etc., etc. Everyone wants to...
Phytoestrogens, aka plant estrogens, that do not work the same way as human estrogen.
Point and laugh, haha, funny sweat man says frogs are gay. No one wants to talk about the effects of atrazine on studies of South African claw frogs, how it made them effeminate, how it made the males start trying to mate with other males, how...
Ugh, please do. Honestly, let me be clear. I don't want anyone to be anything that they're not. But if all of a sudden everyone in the world that was born was, like, not such a... not this, I think we'd probably be better off. I gotta fight you with guns. Think about I gotta save my seed. That kind of thing. Like, can we selectively breed out toxic traits of masculinity and keep, like, healthy masculinity? Because those people are great. But this shit, I hate it. I hate it so much.
It made them disinterested in the females. No one wants to talk about that. These chemicals, and there are lots of them, are used in your food packaging, in the plastics that you use to store your food, in the cups and bottles out of which you drink. They're in your shampoos, in your toothpastes. They're in the...
Oh yeah, I'm getting that good estrogen everywhere. Why do I waste so much money getting my prescriptions when I could just shampoo my hair and eat a credit card?
Tap water, they're in the meats, eggs, milk. They're getting into your system in more ways than we know, and we need to outright ban them.
Yeah, the microplastic thing is an actual problem, though, environmentally. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just making fun of John for connecting it to feminization, which seems to be the implication he's making here.
The great thing about the market breeding innovation is that when we ban things that disrupt the collective endocrine systems of the country, that literally make men more feminine, that are actively lowering their testosterone levels, the good thing is that it'll just innovate a new solution that isn't altering our hormones. But this is incredibly important because disrupting your endocrine system makes you unstable. It makes you mentally ill, and it also makes you more feminine. All of these things make you more likely to support the left. Support the narratives, the systems of power in
The left exists because microplastics. Wow, there are a lot of microplastics in the early part of the 20th century. How many microplastics were happening in the USSR? Jesus Christ.
this country, all of it. If you want a free, prosperous, happy society, then you must understand that the mass alteration of your people's hormones is not conducive to that. It makes them weak, it makes them emotional, it makes them depressed.
Emotions are bad.
And it is evil. And arguably, that's why it's allowed to happen and why it's swept under the rug.
No, that's capitalism, John. That's capitalism.
And this isn't a conspiracy theory, by the way. Like, literally just Google it. It's all publicly available information. It's on the labels. They don't even try to hide this. It's just true, and no one talks about it. But anyways, moving on to number 3. This one's probably going to be the most polarizing, but it's just so true. That is that we need an immigration moratorium.
Here it comes. I know like people who aren't from this country, but I come from this country.
For those unfamiliar, an immigration moratorium means that we don't take in on the net any immigrants for a period of, let's say, 10 years.
I'm sure after that 10 years, John would be fully excited to be like, no, it's time to let him in. Now, it's been 10 years. Now I'm perfectly fine with brown people coming to America. It certainly wasn't just me being racist and an ethno-nationalist all along. It's been 10 years. Come on in, friends. That's exactly how it would go. Fun fact.
Before I explain why, let me just preface by reminding you that immigration in the way that we have it now is the greatest gift and weapon that the left has ever been given. The only reason that it is supported by the left is because they know that they can simply import voters to make the right electorally obsolete.
No, because I recognize that other people should have the right to come here. Because I think borders are stupid in the first place. Because I recognize that our country, in its very nature, is a country that has brought in ridiculous numbers of people, and I don't mean ridiculous in a bad way, I just mean as a way of showing that our entire country is made up of immigrants. That's great. Don't get me wrong, there's other issues in the formation of the country in terms of what was done to the indigenous people, but like, the fact that people from all over the world have come here and built roots here, and their cultures have been shared amongst the populace, that's a beautiful thing, and I like that. One of the things that I think is a strength of the United States is our diversity. It's not a weakness. I want people to come in. Not to mention the fact that the United States, I think, has a negative birth rate at this point anyway. So if you want to keep the population stable, which you need to if you're married to the idea of capitalism as the prevailing economic political system that runs the country, then you need a workforce, so you need to bring new people in. It's a multifaceted solution. It's a good thing overall, John.
And unfortunately, the right supports it too.
And he's not even talking about, let's be clear, he's talking about legal immigration here. He's not even talking about undocumented immigration. He's talking about legal immigration by filling out paperwork, waiting years, and then coming to the United States and getting your green card and all that stuff.
Because they get paid off by big business because mass immigration depresses wages. But anyways, there is nothing wrong.
Oh boy, I guess we should make laws ensuring that people get paid fair wages then, John, huh? Oh, that you don't actually want a solution to that problem? You just want a reason to bitch about immigrants? Cool. Just checking.
With opposing something because it will hurt you politically, especially because the only reason that they support it is because it will help them politically. And not only help them, but cement victory for them. And I'll probably do a whole video on just...
I find that interesting, too, considering, especially... First of all, John's apparently incapable of recognizing any reason that you would be in favor of a certain policy unless it directly benefited you politically. And secondly, I don't even think that's necessarily the case, because people who are coming from Mexico or other places in Central America, I would imagine they would be more likely to be socially conservative. Like, Mexico and Central America are more Christian than America, right? They're gonna tend to be socially conservative. Like, that's probably gonna hurt Democrats in the long run. But it is what it is. I'm not going to keep people out just because I disagree with them politically. John, on the other hand, seems to not recognize this, or at the very least, his hate of brown people is higher than his want of more socially conservative people to be in the country. I don't know.
This topic in the future. Let me know if you want to see that. But for now, what I'll say is this. Much of the immigration pitch in this country appeals to the patriot's ego, and even Ronald Reagan was guilty of this. We hear this rhetoric, how these people just want to come to America because it's just the greatest country in the world, and it's the land of opportunity, and it makes...
I think a lot of people see it as a greater opportunity than where they were, especially if you're in like Mexico or someplace in Central America that's been devastated by decades of the war on drugs, cultivating things like cartels, running amok across your country. Yeah, you're probably going to have a higher chance of success if you're able to get to America, and even if you have a low-wage job here in America, which, by the way, I don't think is cool either, when they get undocumented immigrants and pay them under minimum wage. I think that's disgusting. I don't think that's okay. I think they should get paid better than that. However, still, their low pay that they should be getting paid more still might be more than they're able to make at home, and then they're able to send much of their wages back to their family at home. I understand that. People want to do what they can to help themselves and help their families. I don't blame anyone for wanting to do that.
Makes us feel like maybe we still are a great country, and I'm sure a lot of these immigrants who do come here, they absolutely believe that that's the case, and I love that. I sympathize with them, but unfortunately, yet obviously, we have to prioritize the needs of our country and our people, and the reality of the situation is that these...
Why are they mutually exclusive in your mind, John?
Immigrants are not assimilating, and they're taking more money out of the system.
This is, again, the same things that people said about the Irish. So, kind of falls on deaf ears. Get new rhetoric, John.
Than they put into it. The typical right-wing line is, well, I like legal immigration. What I don't like is illegal immigration. And then the elites are like, oh, I mean, okay, we'll just do it that way then. Think about it. What difference does it make? If you get 1,000 people from El Salvador, Somalia, wherever, you get 1,000 of them at the border, what difference does it make if they run past the entrance or go through it? Seriously.
They would have Social Security cards and pay taxes, which is what you would want, right? Seems simple. Let them come in, give them IDs, have them pay taxes on their wages. Simple.
What is the effective difference? A majority of both legal and illegal immigrant households are on welfare, so it seems that while there may be a lot of them who, really just want to make it for themselves in this country, the
boy, it's almost like they get treated really poorly in this country. Maybe we should improve that.
Majority of them seem to want to loot a decaying empire undergoing its managed decline.
Yes, clearly when someone whose family is starving travels across their country and maybe through other countries to get to the United States, they're thinking, time to suckle on the teat of this decaying empire. No, they're thinking, I want to feed my family, you shit. What the fuck?
Oh, but they help the GDP, John. The GDP, they help it. GDP, John. On paper, yeah, sure. How much of that benefits us, though, Americans? Because it's estimated that immigration, both legal and illegal, increases the GDP in this country by like 11%, like 1.6 trillion. Cool, right? Guess how much of that increase goes directly to the immigrants themselves in the form of wages and benefits that Americans aren't getting. Fully 97.8%. GDP going up, supposed to benefit us, right? I mean, that's why you said it.
Okay, so they're then paying for themselves. That's good, right, John? You were just saying that they take more out of the system than they put in, but then you said they increase by 11%, which 97% goes to them. So, which is it, John? I get it, you just hate brown people, but you're doing a bad job of hiding that.
No, total benefit is about 0.2% of the GDP, about 35 billion. Oh, but John, when GDP increases, prices decrease, and I know this because Henry Hazlitt told me so in 1946. Okay, cool, irrelevant. I'll tell you why right now. But first, just internalize that there is very little evidence that indicates or suggests that immigration in any form is a substantial benefit to the American people. But that aside...
Define benefit here, John. Because even if it's benign, I want people to be able to come to this country if they want. I want people from this country to be able to go to other countries. I'm not big on the whole, like, this is our country, stay out of the country thing. I don't like that shit. I think it's stupid. I think it's antiquated.
Here's why economic argument...
We are a global society at this point, John. Money and capital moves all over the place. Labor should also be able to move all over the place. I don't see an issue with it. Hats off, meaning I gotta put on some sort of accessory. Let's go with some glasses. Which ones are these? Are these obnoxious? No. where are the pink ones? Hold on. Where did I put those? Oh, there they are.
Arguments about immigration are irrelevant. 19 out of 20 illegal immigrants will vote for Democrats.
Okay. And you believe someone's political beliefs somehow should determine whether or not they come into the country? That's fucked up, John. Hydrate. And you know why they vote for Democrats, John? It's really simple. Because like I said, people from Mexico and Central America are going to tend to be more socially conservative. They're going to tend to be, on the whole, Christian. But they vote for Democrats because Democrats don't hate them and shit-talk them because of their race. Fun fact. So just stop doing that.
9 out of 10 legal immigrants will vote for Democrats. This is a fact. We'll have a problem when liberals move from California to Texas, but they keep voting for the same policies that ruined where they came from in the first place. Yeah, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think that they're going to totally abandon their culture?
God, I would love in the next 20 years enough left-leaning people move to Texas that it completely fucks up John's idea of this, like, I'm going to move to Texas because it's right-leaning and I'm going to get all away from all these PC liberal cucks or whatever. If in the next 20 years Texas turns at least purple, it would be beautiful.
Do you think that they're going to get a white picket fence and start reading Thomas Paine and John Stuart Mill and the Federalist Papers?
Yes, like your average American.
Well, I'm okay with immigrants as long as they assimilate. They're not assimilating. They don't want to assimilate.
First-generation immigrants typically don't. It's usually their kids and their kids' kids that do. And that's always been the case, whether we're talking about Germans or Irish, the French, any group of people that's come to this country after we could have what you would call an American culture or whatever. First-generation immigrants typically don't. They have kids here, and then those kids do, and they carry on their parents' and families' traditions within our culture. But usually, first-generation immigrants don't. And that's fine. There's not an issue with that.
Well, but my family immigrated and we're assimilated. That's great. I'm happy, good. But we're not talking about you. We're talking about very strong tendencies, not exceptions. 3 generations of immigrants later in this country, they're still not assimilated.
I would love to see what he means by assimilation. How is he measuring this? Does he mean that, like, let's say someone comes from a country and they're Muslim. They follow Islam, and by the 3rd generation they still follow Islam. Is he considering someone who otherwise is very assimilated to American culture, but otherwise they follow Islam? Does he consider that not being assimilated? Because Christianity is not central to whether or not you are American and follow American culture. We have a First Amendment right in this country, John. So what do you mean by assimilated? Can you extrapolate?
Actually are even more in support of Democrats. They only assimilate to American culture.
Oh, are you not assimilated if you vote for Democrats, even though there are more Democrats in this country than Republicans? So we're the majority opinion? But you're not assimilated if you vote for Democrats. I guess even though my family's been in this country for hundreds of years, I'm not assimilated because I'm a leftist genius.
To the degree that American culture promotes its own destruction, degeneracy, communism, hatred of white people, etc.
Okay, so he just thinks his version of assimilation is his straw man communist version of the left. Basically anyone who doesn't support Donald Trump. Gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I get where he's coming from in a delusional sense.
And that's the biggest thing. If a majority of these immigrants say they're against free speech, they're against gun rights, etc., and a vast majority of them are voting for Democrats who literally want to erase our country, how...
Yes, John. I want to erase the country I live in and will probably continue to live in for the rest of my life. Genius.
could you ever think that they're assimilating? That's irresponsible.
Okay, so he has just literally said it's not assimilation if you don't agree with me. Cool.
Democrats are trying to uproot the country, and they're only a few elections away from giving all of these illegal aliens the ability to vote. And then they're just going to bring in more. And then we will never win an election again.
That'd be beautiful. John, you guys already suck. I think you've won the popular vote once in like 20 years for the presidency. That was 2004, after 9/11. George W. Bush, we were still on that jingoistic fervor. I couldn't vote yet. Yeah, Donald Trump lost the popular vote twice. Of course, Obama won his elections, you know? People don't like you guys. You suck. The only reason you guys win at all is because of the Senate. and the Electoral College, which are fucked.
And even if you wanted to change these people's minds, you don't have the institutional power to do that as quickly as would be necessary, even if it were possible. That's why we need an immigration moratorium. We need 10 years, net zero immigration.
10 years. I promise, guys. After 10 years, I'll definitely let immigrants in. I don't just hate brown people.
You want to bring over your spouse or your kids, that's fine. Welcome, welcome. But net zero. Also cut welfare benefits from illegals, let them repatriate. And I know
you can't get welfare benefits if you don't have documentation in this country, John, you absolute idiot. How do you think you apply for welfare?
there's a lot of immigrants who are right-wing, who love America, and that's great. I love that. But unfortunately, as I'm sure they know, the vast majority are aiding in the destruction of America.
As I'm sure you, Mexican nationals who've moved to America know, Mexicans sure do want to destroy America when they move here, am I right? Yes, John, I'm sure you're connecting with the Hispanic audience. I'm sure they're loving what you have to say.
In 10 years, if we get our country on the right track again...
I think the only person who's vaguely Hispanic that likes what John has to say is Nick Fuentes. And he's about as Hispanic as I am.
Sure, we can reconfigure our policies, but right now what we're doing is absolutely unsustainable. And the final point is this: to be unfailingly pro-immigration is necessarily to be unpatriotic. Because if you believe that America needs other people from other countries to teach America how to create art or music or food or enterprise or technology, you simply haven't been paying attention. What you are saying is that other people are better than Americans and we need them to come in and help improve us because we just aren't good or capable by ourselves.
Or, again, diversity is good and bringing new ideas from other places is just good in general. It's not saying that you are bad, it's saying that other people have different ideas that are also good.
The fact is that we didn't build the most advanced and prosperous society by pouring in 2 million people a year from the third world. We did it with our own people.
As we all know, America has no history of immigration, okay? Please don't Google that.
Americans are smart, we can do the jobs, we can run our own country. We're still pioneers. And after we get things under control,
This is honestly the most historically ignorant, 3 to 5 minutes I've heard in a long time. John is doing real bad.
we start taking care of our own people, after we restore the American dream, which is dead, maybe we can start opening it back up to other people. Oh, well, but John, Steve Jobs was an immigrant. The guy who invented Google was an immigrant. Yeah, and now Google wants to kick you off the internet for having the wrong opinion, for being to the right of Hillary Clinton. So look what
John, stop being a fucking fascist. That'd be great.
that got us. But seriously, those types of people are 1 in a billion. Specks of dust in a haystack. If you take
Okay, that's true for all innovators. You're not going to become a billionaire, John. Almost no one is.
1,000 Americans and 1,000 people representative of the current immigration proportions, lock each in a separate baseball stadium, tell them how to figure out, or tell them to figure out how to get to Mars or to create Google 2, Americans win.
Yes, please take a random sampling of 1,000 people and get them to build a rocket to Mars? What the fuck?
Still the best. Let's start acting like it again. And you may not like it, but this is nonetheless true. To take our country back, we need an immigration moratorium. Oh, but the economic benefit, which you just explained, wasn't even significant. Oh, you mean the economy that's going to be destroyed when they inevitably vote Democrats into office and eventually solidify a one-party state, that economy? We can't assimilate millions of people from other countries each year if we can't even assimilate our own children so that they grow up to not hate their country, right?
Why won't my kids be homophobic racists like me?
Now we're struggling with that, with even that. But anyways, speaking of the children.
I just wanted my kids to be ethno-nationalists like me and their grandpappy before them. We're salt of the land folks here, okay? Why won't they be racist?
We know that the backbone of society is the family unit. And so we need some strong pro-family, pro-child policies. Our fertility rate is currently below replacement. We need to start having more kids. I personally think it would be kind of cool if we bred the left out of existence. And so...
Again, John, find a woman to sleep with you. That's fine. Do it.
To do that, we need to make it easier for people to start families and to have lots of kids.
Can you imagine how much John's children are going to hate him when he grows up? If you're watching this in 30 years somehow, and you're John's kid, who has since learned what a trash bag your dad is, I am so sorry. I tried to warn everyone. Email me. Wait, is email a thing? Tweet me. Twitter DM me. Is Twitter still a thing? Connect with me with your Apple brain link and psychically tell me how shitty your dad is.
Kids and provide for and protect
Hydrate. Okay.
those families. What are some ways we could do that? Ending no-fault divorce, rejecting any zoning laws that seek to end single-family home neighborhoods, thereby protecting the suburbs. This will defend expanding the rights of single family. What are some ways we could do that? Ending no-fault divorce.
So he wants to take away the rights of people to divorce their spouse. Lovely.
Rejecting any zoning laws that seek to end single-family home neighborhoods, thereby protecting the suburbs. This will defend...
Suburbs are really inefficient bad land use policy. And honestly, urban sprawl like that is just a nightmare, so.
Expanding the right to carry for all U.S. citizens, constitutional carry, very epic, banning abortions, ending Common Core.
Don't ban abortions.
Implementing pro-family, pro-America education, banning hormone treatment,
Banning hormone treatment. He wants to make it illegal for trans people to transition. Freedom.
blockers, all of that stuff for minors, banning drag queens,
Minors. Okay.
story hour in public libraries,
We can't have drag queens existing in public spaces.
increasing tax incentives to get married and have children, reaffirming that marriage can only be between a man and a woman.
Again, just banning gay marriage. Fuck gays, I guess.
And when we take power, and we will, cleansing the system of all of its wasteful spending. Then we can redirect some of that money to things that are actually like cool, like a national honor, a medal for mothers and fathers who have stayed together and raised 4 or more children.
This is literally, and I'm not making this up, the kind of shit that Nazi Germany would do. Like, they'd have a medal for if you're a woman and you had X number of kids, they'd give you like a special medal. Like, you've done a great service for the Rhineland. Woo! It's the kind of pointless, vapid, fascist symbology that they think means something. It's so stupid. What about kids who have to start puberty blockers because they start puberty at 1 year old? I guess fuck them. Because John doesn't like trans people.
That'd be sick. That'd be sick. Do that, and then like on the child's 18th birthday, we'll pay off your mortgage or something. Our country can't have a future if it doesn't have families.
Let's just pay off everyone's mortgage. How about everyone just gets a house? Fuck it. Let's go.
Who's gonna carry the torch? More babies. Not tomorrow, not after breakfast, now. I'm gonna get all the smartest people I know into an office. I'm gonna figure out how to make it easier for young Americans to get married and have children.
It's gonna be John, Nick Fuentes, and a bunch of other white dudes who can't get laid going, how do we get people to sleep with us? Women don't seem to like us very much. Why? Why don't women like us? Is it because we don't want them to have the right to vote? Is it because we constantly call them stupid and overly emotional? I don't know, man. We're gonna outbreed the left, though. You know the thing that John doesn't like and doesn't get? The left fucks. I fuck. Okay, John? You're gonna outbreed me? I fuck, and I look like this. Okay? I'm fucking gorgeous, apparently. Fuck yes, John. Look upon me and know that I fuck and you don't. Outbreed this bitch.
Banning OnlyFans. And it's not canceling student
Banning OnlyFans. OnlyFans has existed for like 3 years.
debt. It's not guaranteed housing. Duh. Relax, lib. My least favorite trend on the left is when they pretend to care about family and community just because they want free stuff. Like, I know you people. You literally hide in your room during family gatherings, or you just don't even show up. You are are not family oriented, you are cringe. You are spiritually ill. But anyways, last one. This one is epic. We need a woke tax. I'm not even kidding. We'll come up with some like PR strategy like, oh, the Marketplace Neutrality Act, whereas the consumer should be free to consume without political messaging, whatever. Something.
So you want to hamper people's free speech because you don't like it. Very free speech, John.
To appeal to the centrists, something to appeal to the people who still think that bipartisanship is an option at this point. But the end result will literally be a tax, a financial penalty whenever a big corporation, not a small business, a big corporation that primarily sells a product or service that is not related to politics does something that either promotes a political message or agenda or discriminates against one.
That's basically everything ever, which would probably also include the holsters that you sell, John, that you shill for, because they sell like Trump shit. So this would include your sponsors, just for the record.
Coca-Cola teaches people to be less white. Pay up, jackass. Companies move out of Georgia because they're restricting illegal voting measures and restricting abortions. Pay up. Something of that nature. Well, but John, who gets to decide that? Literally me and you and all of our friends. Like, we're going to take power.
Wow, he just fuck the mask. The mask is gone. There's no mask. John and his friends, who are a bunch of losers, like Nick Fuentes, who can't even get on a fucking plane anymore because he's on no-fly lists. They're gonna take over the country, and they're gonna ban Blue's Clues. Because me no likey. Why won't women be with me? Hey, John, do you want to come to my wedding? It might be the only one you ever get to see in person.
We get to call the shots, and frankly, we're being generous. But seriously, woke taxes are necessary to take the culture back, because the reality is that a large part of American culture is rooted in consumerism. And that needs to be at the very least neutral, so as to not reinforce the leftist narratives that are being propagated by every other aspect of
Excuse me.
the culture. And with all these policies, they're not set in stone. Most of them don't even exist yet, but the purpose is to get the ball rolling here, get the gears turning. There are very smart, capable people working in right-wing politics or looking to get involved in right-wing politics. Many of them
Sorry, John. You're not invited. Baja says no. Thank you, Baja. I didn't want him to come.
are watching these videos, and I trust them to do the right thing when the time comes. But anyways, I said I'd explain the absence, but we've been going for a while here, so I'll just say that the time was well spent. We are very well equipped to keep moving and growing in the future. We have big plans. I thank you all for your patience. I was running PsyOps in the Discord, which is back. Shh, it's super secret. The left can't shut it down this time, though.
John's Discord got banned for being John's Discord, if you know what I mean. So now he's doing a ban evasion one, I guess. Can you come instead? If you want to book a flight and take care of your own hotel, go for it.
But you can try. Humor my boys. They're Marines, the ones running it. But yeah, I was intentionally spreading misinformation in the community, like, face it, boys. John's not coming back. You really think it was a coincidence that the last video was how to remain optimistic? Like, you know, I was bored. We do a little psyopping. It's called We Do a Little.
We're not going to live stream the wedding. No. Well, I'm sure we'll take video and I might share some of it with you guys, but, you know. This is my job and I love you guys, but, you know, that's a private, personal thing.
But everyone had faith. They trusted.
I can't just invite people to our wedding. You're no fun.
The process. They were like, nah, he wouldn't leave us like that. And it's so true. It is so true. So thank you all for your patience. The content kitchen is now officially up and running. Let's go. Hey guys, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up, leave it a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and of course, share the video with a friend. New microphone check. Well, that's kind of dumb, actually, that the first thing I sort of mentioned as far as what's new was the microphone. New microphone check. New desk check. New Jesus bobblehead check. New sign.
Oh, is it a new bobblehead? It looks exactly the same as the old one.
Check. Everything is new. New location check. New beard check. Same shirt, though. I really haven't changed that much. I really haven't changed at all, except I got 9% smarter. That's true. But thank you so much for watching, and may God bless America. This is intense, actually. This is the first time that we have struck the Jesus bobblehead because this is the new Jesus bobblehead. And still, a lot of people are always like, why are you hitting Jesus? I'm not. I'm making the bobblehead bobble. If you don't understand why this is necessary, it's actually the bobblehead. I could and I would make the argument that to not bobble the bobblehead is actually an insult to nature and to God. But anyways, it's so true. Thank you so much for watching, and may God bless America.
I never find his endings funny. At least the main thing is unintentionally funny. Whoa. Hello. Oh, hi, kitty. How are you? What's up? Oh, okay. So that's John. John's back. He's worse than he's ever been. I really think Trump losing the election has not been great for him mentally. I hope he does better and stops being a fascist, but he won't, so we'll keep laughing at him for however long it takes for him to have a complete mental breakdown.